This little girl kissed her favorite kindergarten teacher. Afterwards, the teacher gave her a serious talking to, but the girl felt rejected. So, fuming with anger, she marched up to the principal and claimed the teacher had exposed himself to her. At first, the principal didn't buy it, just chalked it up to a child's wild imagination. But the girl described the details so vividly, it clearly wasn't something a kid could just make up.
Hvorfor siger du det?
Fordi det gør den.
After mulling it over, the principal decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. What she didn't know was that those disturbing images came from something the girl had seen on her brother's phone, something she was never meant to see. Early the next morning, the principal called the teacher into her office and broke the news in the vaguest terms possible.
Barnet siger, der er sket ting imellem jer, som normalt kun bør ske mellem voksne mennesker. Barnet siger, at han, hun.
To protect the girl, she didn't reveal her name or even her gender, and deliberately glossed over what actually happened. The teacher was left completely in the dark. She then put him on extended leave, telling him he couldn't return until the investigation was complete. And just like that, this teacher, Lucas, was suspended without even knowing what he'd supposedly done. The moment Lucas left, the principal called in a child psychologist to evaluate the girl. But when the expert started questioning her, she flat out denied everything.
Jeg har ikke sagt noget.
He concluded that she must be in such severe shock she was blocking out reality. So instead of pressing her, he led her through it, guiding her to recall what had happened, and wrapped up his assessment.
Får du det ubehageligt nu, hvor vi snakker om Lucas? Men det er fordi, du ikke kan lide det, som han gjorde.
After that brief evaluation, the expert had already made up his mind. To protect the kindergarten's reputation, the principal didn't go to the police right away. Instead, she contacted the girl's parents first, and at the next parents' meeting, she announced Lucas's crimes to everyone.
Der er en overvejende sandsynlighed for, at en voksen har forgrebet sig på et af børnene. Ja, altså, teoretisk set, så kan der være tale om flere tilfælde.
She urged all the parents to keep a close eye on their children. If their kids started having dizzy spells, wetting the bed, or having nightmares, it could mean they'd been molested too. The next morning, Lucas got a phone call from his son. Through tears, the boy said his mother had forbidden any contact between them. The principal had called Lucas's ex-wife overnight and told her everything. All Lucas could do was tell his son not to believe the rumors. Furious, Lucas headed to the kindergarten to confront the principal face to face. But she kept dodging him, saying she had nothing more to say to scum like him.
Stop lige der. Kun kan du finde sådan noget? Du må være syg.
Hvad fanden er det, jeg har gjort?
Lucas still had no idea what he was even being accused of. He just snapped at her for dragging his son into this. In the middle of the argument, the principal accidentally let the girl's name slip. Lucas tried to say more, but a self-righteous parent threw him out. And worse, even the kids he'd always been so close to now stared at him like he was a stranger, with wary, suspicious eyes. Lucas couldn't understand why his best friend's daughter would lie about him. So he went to his friend Theo's house to get to the bottom of it. But Theo no longer trusted him.
Du vil, jeg skal spørge Clara. Er det det, du siger?
Ja, du skal spørge Clara. Ja, selvfølgelig. Hvad mener du?
Lucas, jeg kender min lille pige, og hun lyver ikke, og det har hun aldrig nogensinde gjort. Så hvorfor skulle hun lyve nu?
After saying his piece, Theo broke down in tears, whether out of grief for his daughter or heartbreak over a friend's betrayal. Who could say? Lucas tried to explain himself.
Det er jeg har ikke været din datter. Det ved du også godt, jeg ikke har, ikke? Tror du på, hvad jeg siger, eller tror du ikke på det? Theo, jeg har ikke været din datter. Tror du for helvede, Alex?
Jeg ved ikke, Lucas.
But then Theo's wife walked in and ordered him out without a second thought. Lucas had no choice but to leave. But he barely made it a few steps before Theo slammed him up against the wall.
Hvis du rører som min lille datter, så får du en kugle. Lige i panden. Jeg tror det op, det siger hun jo ikke.
Just then, Clara heard the noise and came outside.
Hej, Clara.
Hej, Lucas.
Even after everything this family had done to him, Lucas still managed a kind face for the child. Then he slipped away. Watching her father attack her teacher, Clara finally realized just how out of hand things had gotten. Curling up in her mother's arms, she sheepishly told the truth.
Han har ikke gjort noget. Det var bare mig, der sagde noget dumt noget. Og nu er alle i børnehaven også begyndt at tale om det. De siger alt muligt.
That should have been the end of this whole mess. But after a long pause, her mother's brain just short-circuited.
Det er det svært at forstå, men måske er det sådan her, at dit hoved vil helst ikke huske, hvad der er sket, fordi det ikke er særlig rart at tænke på, men Clara, det er sket. Og derfor er det så godt, du har fortalt os det, ikke? Ikke, skat?
That insane logic left even 6-year-old Clara confused. She wasn't even sure anymore whether it had really happened or not. The story spread through the small town like wildfire. Even Lucas's gentle, caring nature with the kids was twisted into evidence of his predatory behavior. More and more parents came forward claiming their children had also been abused. They banded together and demanded Lucas's girlfriend help them gather evidence. At first, she brushed it off. As a fellow kindergarten teacher, she knew exactly what kind of man Lucas was. But then something happened that made even her start to doubt. That day, Clara, who hadn't been around in ages, suddenly showed up at their door, asking to play with Lucas's dog. Lucas tensed up. After making sure no one was watching, he carefully crouched down to ask her something.
Hvad det, jeg skulle have gjort ved dig, lille skat?
Det ved jeg ikke. Jeg kan ikke huske det mere. Det også de andre.
Hvem andre? Hvem det?
He reached out, but Clara kept backing away. His girlfriend caught the whole thing from behind. Seeing Clara nearly in tears, she couldn't help but start questioning things herself. After much hesitation, she finally voiced her doubts.
Lucas, did you touch that girl?
No.
You are not a sick person, are you?
Lucas's eyes welled up. He couldn't believe even the person closest to him was starting to suspect him. And finally, this man who'd held it all in for so long broke.
Hvis du skal tage dine ting, så skal du gå nu. Bare tag dine ting. Kom,
Make some food.
By now, Lucas's life was in ruins. He'd lost his job. He'd lost everyone's trust. One night, Lucas was lying in bed when his dog started barking like crazy. Thinking it was someone come to harass him again, he crept to the door.
Markus?
But standing outside was the son he'd been longing to see. Overwhelmed, Lucas pulled his boy into a tight hug. For the first time in days, the tension finally left his body. His son had come with his godfather, Brune, one of the few people who still believed in Lucas. They were furious about what he'd been through, but powerless to stop it. Even his son Marcus was getting the cold shoulder. One day, when Marcus went to the supermarket for groceries, the manager told him neither he nor his father were welcome there anymore.
Hvorfor? Ja, det ved du godt. Det skal I bare ikke.
Marcus stormed out in anger, but trouble never comes alone. The moment he got home, he watched his father being hauled away by the police. It seemed like nobody trusted them anymore. Desperate, Marcus went to Theo's house, hoping that for the sake of their old friendship, they might help. But Theo said there was nothing he could do.
Du er sådan en god dreng, og jeg kan godt forstå, at du tænker sådan om din far, og du skal ikke lægges til last for noget, han har gjort, vel?
Men han har jo ikke gjort det, I siger.
Seeing he was getting nowhere, Marcus lost it, turning all his rage on Clara.
Hvorfor lå du min far?
Det gør jeg ikke.
Clara, kom her.
Kom, Clara, nu går vi op.
Theo,
Du slipper det.
Kom, lille skat.
De lige slipper. Tror du ikke det?
Markus, så stop. Hvor er det med? Jeg tror, jeg lige kunne lade pigen, hvad jeg går. Det er fandme nu. Det er.
Bare snak,
Så er det bare ude, du.
Snak med dig!
Det er fandme nok, du. Markus, stop det der.
Hvorfor lå du min far, dit svin?
Who was sitting nearby. His outburst infuriated everyone, and a group of burly men dragged him outside. But Lucas was released soon after. The kids' stories all matched. They described his couch, the color of his wallpaper, even gave the exact location of his basement. The only problem? When the police checked, Lucas didn't have a basement. Without solid evidence, they had to let him go. But prejudice in people's hearts is a mountain that won't move. The townspeople were convinced Lucas had just hidden his crimes too well for the police to find anything. If the law wouldn't deliver justice, they'd take matters into their own hands. That night, Lucas was making dinner for his son when a rock came crashing through the window. His son cowered in the corner, terrified. Lucas stormed outside, but no one was there. The attackers had left a sack on the ground. Lucas opened it carefully, and found his beloved dog, dead inside.
Hold op. Stop med den her. Læg den der.
The worst part? He had no idea who to even blame. In the pouring rain, Lucas dug a deep hole in the backyard. He buried his dog, telling himself he could swallow this and move on. But the storm was far from over. He went to the supermarket to buy some basic supplies and was refused service.
Skal jeg have 2 koteletter? Vi har ikke nogen koteletter. Og skal jeg med de der svinekoteletter? Du kan ikke få noget her.
When he tried to push back, he was met with fists from every direction.
Går vi hjem, tak. Tak for i dag. Kom afsted.
Stop af. Det er sidste gang, du kommer her.
But Lucas didn't leave. He came back.
Har jeg ikke sagt til dig, at du skal smutte herfra? Det er sidste gang, jeg siger det til dig. Jeg skal bare lige sige noget til dig.
Der er en gang i dig. Det skal da ikke rigtigt. Okay.
Så vil jeg gerne have mine ting.
Giv ham nu bare hans far.
He never imagined he'd have to fight just to live the ordinary life he used to take for granted. Back home, Lucas put on a clean, spotless suit. He'd made a bold decision. He walked into the church, the place of redemption, carrying all his pain. And when the children's angelic voices began to sing, the stark contrast between that purity and the cruelty he'd suffered shattered him. What follows are 3 turns of his head, a textbook portrayal of escalating emotion. The first turn, tears glisten in Lucas's eyes, his lips trembling slightly. He's begging his old friend to understand him. The second turn, his face tightens, his breathing quickens. He's barely holding back his rage. The third turn, he lets out a raw, broken cry. Completely undone. The camera locks onto his old friend Theo, a mirror reflecting humanity's judgment. After the service, Clara, for the second time, told her parents she'd lied.
Far, græder du?
Nej. Det var fordi, der findes så meget ondskab her i verden. Hvis vi holder fast i det, så forsvinder.
And this time, his old friend chose to believe. That night, the two of them stayed up talking, just like the old days. And finally, the two men made peace. A year later, the life that lies had destroyed seemed to be back on track. Friends who'd misjudged him welcomed him back. His girlfriend returned. It all felt like a bad dream. But beneath that peaceful surface, deep hostility still lingered. Whenever someone caught Lucas's eye, they still looked away. Then Lucas ran into Clara. After a long silence, he was the one who spoke first.
Kom. Ja. Helt forsigtigt. Med meget lange skridt. Så klarer vi den. Jeg tror faren han er inde.
Tak.
Selv tak.
Not long after, Lucas took his son hunting. The boy ran off excitedly into the woods, and as Lucas waited, a shot rang out. Instinctively, Lucas looked up to see who'd fired it, but he couldn't make them out, because they were standing in the sunlight, standing on the moral high ground. And there, the film ends. No one will ever know who pulled the trigger, because maybe it wasn't one person at all, but a whole pack of invisible hunters. That bullet didn't hit his body, but it tore right through every illusion of reconciliation, because bullets don't lie. And once a rumor takes root, even after the truth breaks through the soil, the poison has already sunk deep into the human heart.